I had known Cooper and Derrick for a while. I actually knew Cooper way before Derrick, even though I was in a band with Derrick prior. I met him years ago, just playing a show with him, his other band, my old band. But yeah, once that I kind of was done with my other band, I wanted to do like something really heavy and different. So I had Derrick with me because he was my guitarist, and then I knew Cooper just because of seeing him with his other bands, how crazy he was. I was like, that's the kind of guy I want for this. So I hit him up. We all linked up, and then we kind of were going through different band lineups. I think we went through like 6 or 7. Like the 3 of us were always just like the ones that always stuck.
Well, Max and I were in a band before Tallah, and right at the end of that, he wanted to start a metal band, and he asked me to join, and I was like, yeah, hell yeah, I'll do it, yeah. So one of my other bands, Dead Stop, we were playing a show in Philadelphia with ADD and Max's old band, Next to None, and we had a great time. We met him, just hanging out it was really fun. We're all bands from Pennsylvania. I didn't know them until that show. So after that, we played another couple of shows. Max asked me to fill in for Next to None for a festival show. It ended up not going through because the festival, I think, like got canceled or something. But I practiced with them for like a couple of weeks, and we had some good chemistry. We hung out and jammed out a bunch. It was really cool. Get to know him and getting to learn like the type of music that he writes and like is into. And then about a year and a half later, I think, not even, Max was like, hey man, I'm starting a new band and I would like to see if you want to be a part of it. I need a bassist that can go crazy. And I was like, I love to go crazy. So I just joined another band, Saravo from New Jersey at that point. So I was like, oh great, I'm sure everyone's going to be super excited about me joining a third band. So I was like, but it could be fun, and it's something I'd never done before, and I was like, you know what, this could be a chance for me to branch out as a player, maybe learn a new style, maybe like become a little bit more well-rounded as a musician, It could be a fun experience, why not? So I just thought, why not go out for it, see what happens, at least help them write the first album, and I was like, right away, I was just like, I'm getting really invested in this, and then obviously when Max was like, well, I don't know if it was like a full, like if I wasn't like, all right, first day we're all together, all right, cool, I'm ready to go forever. But I'm pretty sure it was just like a gradual, like maybe like over the first like couple of weeks. Once we first got our first show, I was probably just be like, yeah, this is like, I'm here for this. Like this is, I'm indebted in this. I'm invested.
It's like your main focus then?
Well, it's not, I mean, don't make me choose. They're all my babies.
And then I found Justin's YouTube channel. I actually had known of that for a while prior, just like casually like following his videos and stuff. And yeah, it was, I just randomly saw one of his like cover videos and was like, fuck it, I'll send this guy a message, see what's up. And I sent him a message and I was just like, he's one of two things. He's got like a bunch of fans on YouTube, so he's either not going to see my message or he's just going to pass it off because he probably gets a bunch of messages from people like, hey, join my band. So it's like, I was just like, this is the one time I'm going to use my dad's like popularity to like get in there. So I was just like, doesn't matter. If he sees like a verified check mark or something, it'll seem more legit. So I was like, hey dad, can you do me a favor this one time? And I like took his phone and I was just like, this is the guy. Can you just send him a message? So my dad sent him a message and then gave him my email or something like that, my phone number or something. And then Justin hooked up with me and I sent him some of like the demos that we recorded, because when we had recorded the EP, No One Should Read This, was before we even had vocals. So it was just an instrumental thing. And yeah, and he liked it and he started writing, and like within a week we played our first show.
So when I was doing like my Hungry Lights stuff, I was like, I never want to be in a band. I never want to tour. Like, I just want to be a studio musician and be on YouTube and do my thing. And I think it was November 2017, I went to go see this local band, Pathogenic. They're like one of my favorite bands, like top 3. So I went to go see them because I hadn't seen them since like 2011, and they were playing around where I am. And I was like, I went to go see them, and the whole time I was just like, man, like I feel like I should be on that stage. Like I feel like I'm kind of wasting some of my talent by just being a studio musician. So I get home, I'm working on my 3rd solo project album, 3 Gods in Me, and then like 2 weeks before 2018, I get this message from Mike Portnoy on YouTube, back when you could still do YouTube messages. And I didn't know who he was at the time. So, but he left this message. He was like, "Happy holidays," but he spelt it like Daze. So I was like, oh my God. And he's like, "Yo, my son's got this killer new band. You should check it out. They want you to sing for them. Here's his email." And I was like, why is this dad asking me to join his son's band? So, but because usually I would say no, because people have asked me in the past, like, "Hey, you want to sing for our band?" I'm like, I'm not into that. But had I not gone to that show in November, I don't think I would have said yes, because I was like, well, I just got that urge to be on stage and this dad just asked me. So I was like, all right, I'll check it out. So I emailed Max, and Max sent me the 5 EP songs, and I listened to them, and I was like, all right, like it's like groovy kind of new metal stuff. I could probably do vocals over this. So I told him I'm in, but I can't do vocals until after I finish this album on January 1st. And he's like, yeah, that's fine, man. So January 1st comes around, my voice is totally blown out from recording the other album for like 2 weeks straight. And then I start writing the EP stuff, and Max is like, "By the way, we have a show on the 7th if you want to come to it." And I was just like, sure. So I wrote the whole EP in like 5 days, drove like 6.5 hours to where they are, and I'm hanging out with these people I've never met before. I know like 80% of the lyrics, and after the first show, I was like, yeah, I'm 100% in. That was awesome. Like, it was just such a rush. But I guess that's the how and why.
Did they hear your vocals before you played the show?
Yeah, so we had one practice where we ran through the set like 2 or 3 times, and they were like, "Oh yeah, his vocals are good." And I had sent all the songs to Max so that he could hear my vocals. And like Max is like, I guess he's like, I call him like a mini producer. So like I write all the vocals, and I'm like, that's my thing. Like I don't want anyone in my lane. But Max is like I see him as like the core guy. He's like the band leader. So I'll send him something. He'll be like, yeah, this is really good, but like I was kind of hoping you do like a mid scream here, or like the chorus for We the Sad, I think we did twice. Placenta and Kungan, I nailed it like one take each. Like I just sent it, and he was like, perfect. Red Light, we ended up doing like 3 or 4 different choruses before we got the one that like I liked and he liked. So I consider him like a mini producer, because he just suggests things, and then I'll be like, yeah, that's a way better idea than I had, and then I'll change it up and rewrite stuff. So what was the question?
Is there anything from No One Should Read This that you wish was done differently, be it a riff, tone, vocal take, or anything within that vein?
I think, like, songwriting-wise, and the songs, they're perfect. Like, I wouldn't touch them. But I think, like, recording, there's things we would have done differently, like, that we finally are able to do now on the new stuff we're recording. Like, my snare tone wasn't ideal. I would have preferred a different snare, and I think some, like, the tones and things were not up to par with what we were envisioning. But, like, what we're doing now, currently, now that we've kind of worked all that out with the previous recording, I think it's going to be really good. So, like, I guess at the same time, like, I wouldn't want to retrack the EP songs because they came out so good and we're proud of them, even though there's things we would have liked differently. It's just kind of like there was an energy to it that I don't think we would necessarily be able to recreate perfectly. Whereas if we go into like these new songs, I think we would have that same sort of energy with it. So yeah, I think it came out great. Like I'm not unhappy with it. They're just small things we would have probably liked done differently.
Not so much differently. I'm usually of the mind, if if it's in there, it's you were happy with it at the time, so it must have made sense. But I understand, you work things and you play things differently, over time, and maybe you come to find like, I really like the way I play it now after having toyed with it for a year and a half or something like that. But no, I mean, there's some things that I think maybe could have been like, I don't know if I think all my correct bass parts are in the album. I think so. If they are, then awesome. But if they're, whatever, it sounds all right. It sounds good enough.
Well, since it was all done separately, like we didn't have Justin at the time yet, and Max and I were still like, it was still like in the beginning, it was me, Max, and Cooper, and we had other members and stuff. So I wish we were like, we had Justin then, we were like a full band then, like kind of how we're doing now with the album.
That vein.
So many things. The biggest thing is I wish that Max's snare was really high and pingy, because that's how he likes it. But they recorded the instrumentals before I joined, and I guess the producer they were working with made them like down tune all of his heads, so his snare is way lower than he likes it, and it just like throws off the vibe, because then you see us live and it's this loud pingy snare, and it's just not like that. And then I wish the bass tone was more like springy. It's really deep and it's cool, but we kind of like that springy bass. So it's like the album, the EP doesn't really translate to our live sound because everything was recorded like differently than we like it. Huh, that's a good question. What stands out the most? I'm gonna say maybe the lead in We the Sad, because that gets stuck in people's heads really easy, and it's just really weird.
I think we're trying to like do our own thing while at the same time bringing in elements from like older new metal bands and like newer age hardcore stuff. So it's just like people have something that's familiar, but we're also trying to put a twist on it. So like a big part of that is like not only the writing but just the performances too. Just like Justin's voice, for example, is like it's different than what other people are doing. Even if it was like someone else singing those parts, it's just like it still wouldn't be the same because his voice is so unique. And that's what we try to do with like each instrument and all the riffs and stuff. It's just like trying to like bring back, I guess, like nostalgic new metal feels, but like trying to do like a new twist to it. That's pretty much kind of like our thing that we're trying to stick by.
In terms of like the album, you mean? Like the whole album?
Yeah.
Probably the album cover is the most poignant thing. We're all ass naked. So also refer to your last question, refer to the album cover. If my answer's not good enough, you can see what's on there.
Probably the concept that Justin has.
Oh. How do I go into that nicely? So the biggest inspiration was my mom. But I should say, don't get me wrong, I love my mom. She's a fantastic mom. I love her. She was great my whole life. She is a single mom, worked very hard. But after my grandma died, she got kind of cuckoo, I guess. Like, I won't say cuckoo. She like not like crazy, but she just wasn't coping with it in the best way. And I tried to help her and I couldn't. So that made me really, really frustrated and like frazzled, and so it coincidentally linked up perfectly with the EP. So I just took all of that anger I had and made the EP, but I was like, I don't want to be that guy who just like makes an entire EP talking shit about his mom, because that's really disrespectful. So I crafted a fictional story so this fictional character could talk shit about his fictional mom, and like it was a way for me to like vent that anger healthily, but still have this good positive relationship with my mom, because it's not about her. But she definitely influenced the character, because the character in the story is very controlling and manipulative and just like evil and just like smothering like this character. But my mom wasn't really like that. She just was trying to be a mom and a dad, so she had to parent me in a certain way that would make it so that I would listen to her and respect her the way I should be doing that to like a father. And I didn't notice it when I was younger. So I moved out when I was like 24, and then I wrote the EP when I was 27. So it'd been 2 years.
3 years. Dumbass.
And my mom was just getting worse and worse with her coping mechanisms. And I was just like, man, like I can't help her. I can't get through to her. Every time I try, she gets mad at me. And if there's one person who can push my buttons better than this guy right here, it's my mom. And she just knows how to get into my head and just piss me off. And it just happened right when I joined. And I was just like, all right, this is what the EP is about. So that answers that question.
Your mom and I should hang out.
She'd probably love you, honestly.
The music video for Placenta.
That was fun. That was the first thing we've done. I don't want to say like, well, maybe it was as a band, because we had shot that music video, and that was like after we finally got vocals and a mix and everything on it. And it's just like we didn't go to a studio together all at the same time. Like parts were even tracked at home. Justin hadn't even met us at the time, so it's just like that was the first time we got together besides shows and done something for the band, which was cool.
So
and that
you did
was
the music video really early on.
Yeah, and that came out in like May, and I think we filmed it maybe like March or something. So we had been playing shows for a bit, and like, yeah, we've hung out and played shows, but I meant like kind of like a behind the scenes sort of thing, and that was fun. That was freezing. That was very similar when we shot Red Light. It was just like in the middle of, where was it? Somewhere up north. No, actually, Red Light we did in Philly, but it was still fucking cold, and yeah, it was all right though. It was fun.
Cold. It was like, I remember it was like April or something, but it was like kind of like freezing that day, and we were in like a warehouse, and in the video, and it was like freezing in there. So
That was cool. It was cold. It was really cold. It was our first video. Me and AJ were drinking Guinness, like 40s. So that was cool. We were hanging out in a big old fucking warehouse in Connecticut or Rhode Island or East Coast, I forget. It was New Hampshire or something like that, or New England area. It was cool. The guys that were helping us out were really cool. Loved all the shots they were doing. Loved the production value, the camera work. It was great. It was a fun time.
Placenta was a lot of fun because that was like the first like real music video I've been a part of, and everything was kind of last minute. So we got this location. I think it was like $200 or something. It was just this abandoned warehouse, and we're like, oh man, we don't want to do an abandoned warehouse video. Everybody does that. So Max and I were like, what can we do to make it more different? And I was like, I woke up like and answered his text, and I was like, dude, let's just throw a bunch of papers all over the ground and draw on them. And he was like, that's a great idea. So that one was really fun. And then there was just a bunch of stuff lying everywhere, and there was bird shit all over the place. So in that part where I like pick up that piece of glass and lick it, it had been lying in bird shit for God knows how long. So that was really fun.
Is that where the idea for the album cover came from? All the papers?
Yes, kind of. It was more like we did all the paper stuff, and then we really liked it, so that kind of became like the single, like the cover for the single for Placenta. And then we were like, let's just keep vibing with that, and it just kept going.
we decided it was a nice day, but it was cold too. They're getting poured on with fake rain, or like pond water rain, whatever it was, with chlorine in it.
Yeah, that was fun too. That was finally we shot that one not in cold weather, but we doused ourselves in like brown river water, so that ended up getting cold as well. But that was fun. Yeah, I had this idea that I talked with Justin like early on. Once we had the EP, actually it was before the EP. It was probably around the time when we were doing the Placenta video. We were talking about like other music video ideas. We had the idea of like being like in the rain and in the woods for that one, and having like creepy cult looking shit. And yeah, so putting that one together was a lot of fun, and we had to like set up a rain machine next to a freaking brown river that we like put into a pool and then poured bleach in to hopefully like get anything gross out of it. It was stupid. It probably didn't even affect the water, but that's what we did. It made us feel better.
That was different. That was outdoors. It was not nearly as cold. It was an all-day shoot sort of thing. We had a rain machine sort of going. which gives the effect of the so like we're all wet and soaking up and everything in there. So there's like some rain effects going on. There's the rain machine we got, and then we got like the crowd things with like the sad people. So that was really cool to sort of film. I didn't see that until it was in the music video, like the final edit. So it was like kind of a mind trip to just sort of just see this crazy weird shit like in these empty forests with. It was a really cool juxtaposition of just like the very full, like in your face, and then the very subtle, just like people peeking out behind trees and stuff. So that was really very cool to shoot. The water was weird. The water, we used like a pond from next to us, so we had to like clean the water, and well, we didn't have to clean the water, but we ended up cleaning the water because they put it in a pool. They would like use a pump to pump it into the pool, so then they would spray it all over us, and that way we didn't get like whatever diseases and bacteria were in that root beer colored water. I'm pretty sure it was like some military runoff water that would have like killed all of us.
We the Sad, overall, I personally like how it came out, but there were so many setbacks with the video because we did like the people who did the video had to build this whole rain machine, and it was so hard to control, and we had to use all these water pumps, and they had to go into this like pool because the water was like disgusting, so we had to like clean the water with like bleach or chlorine tablets before it fell onto us. And then because the pressure was like from this pool, everything was like all misty, so we had to use visual effects for rain anyway. And then it was outdoor, and there were freaking cars going by, so some of the takes got ruined, and it was really cold. I never want to do another rain video ever again because we were all idiots and didn't bring towels. So we would do the take, and then the sun didn't come out, so we're just sitting there like this while the pool filled up. It took 45 minutes to fill up the pool, and we're just like, all right, we're all dry by the time it's full, and now we gotta go get wet again. And I hated it. That was my least favorite video, but it came out pretty cool.
Oh, red light video. That's right. Wow, I just totally okay. That was fun. That was it was a lot warmer, that's for sure. But it was probably the easiest, I feel. The other two were pretty tough. The red light was very organized, and the director was really good with it.
Red Light was the best video we shot so far. We worked with Eric Daly, Eric Easter Daly. His work is really cool. Yeah. Him and his team did a great job. We saw some other videos that they worked on. They did some stuff for Varials, and we were really, really into that stuff. So we were lucky enough to get to work with him, and hopefully we'll have something going on with the future with him. His team was really professional. Everything they did was just like bringing it together. Like they had an idea for us. They had a wardrobe for us. They had a concept. They had props. They had everything we could have. We showed up, got to just be the band, and got to be told what to do, and then we got to play the music and like play our parts, like, and that was it. And as a band, that's kind of all you really want to do is like you want a director to have a vision for you to agree with, pretty much, or at least to work together on to find a place where you both agree, if it's not already there. But best case scenario, they come up with something that you already gravitate towards, and that was sort of what happened. And we really liked the idea right away. We got there, and it was great. It was awesome. We loved the concept. We loved what he was telling us to do. We're having a fun time doing it. Everyone was laughing the whole time, and yeah, it was. We were just having a great time. It was a really easygoing shoot. Very professional.
So you guys didn't even come up with the concept, they did?
It's not so much that we didn't come up with the concept. It was like he came up with it, and we were like, yeah, is that like something we want to go along? And then yeah, actually, he did come up with the concept. Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Red Light, I'm going to say, was my favorite music video because I'm not going to name names. I don't want to throw a shade, but I'll just say the other two videos, they didn't really go the way the ideal way. And so the Red Light video was like we just showed up and everything was ready and good to go, and it was so quick, and we didn't have to do anything with editing. These guys, like, they're a real team that knew how to do everything, and I was like, I just get to show up and be a vocalist, and it was great.
All right, so that's a good story. I was filling in for my girlfriend's band, Dalskin, and it was in Texas. There was a couple shows in Texas we were doing, and this was like right when I was forming Tallah, so I didn't have a band name or anything. So I took a couple pieces of paper and I wrote like, help name my band or something, and I just put a bunch of like lists and stuff and laid it out on their merch table. And like after like 4 or 5 nights, a bunch of people were just writing down band names, and I had like, I still have them in my room, like 4 or 5 different pieces of paper with tons of different names. And for one of them, this little girl just came up and like wrote her name. I don't know if she didn't understand what the question was or just thought she wanted her name to be the band name, but it actually came out. It was like a really cool name. So we were like, let's go with that. And then we actually took the handwriting that she had on that piece of paper and we scanned it and used that as our logo. So that's where it came from.
I mean, the imagery is, you know, I would never say that anything's a verbatim, direct correlation between the lyrics and the video. Sometimes it might look like it is, but that's up to the reader or the viewer or the listener or whatever. So, if it looks crazy, I think we're probably doing it right.
The artwork for the EP, I don't want to say like I full on base it around Justin's lyrics, but that usually helps. Once he writes vocals and sends me lyrics and I get like the song names, I can read different lines. That usually puts good imagery in my head and I can like get a clear idea of things. Like a lot of like the imagery with the EP was heavily based around his lyrics. Like that whole cover I made was like, that was an idea that me and him talked about when we were doing the placenta shoot, because we wanted to do something a little bit different. So we like put all those pages with all the different drawings on the floor in like that warehouse. So it wasn't just like a band warehouse music video. But yeah, all those little drawings on there were like different ideas I came up with thinking after reading his lyrics or just straight up putting his lyrics on there. And then that ended up turning into like our album cover. So a lot of it comes from after he finishes writing lyrics, it usually gives me different ideas and visions and stuff like that.
Again, a lot of it's like improvised. It's like whatever looks cool, I guess, that we all agree on. But Max is really, he does a lot of that, he's really good with it.
So I'd say Max is the guy that does most of the artwork and like video stuff. Like with Tallah, he's like the main guy, and then I just kind of like suggest things if I get an idea. But most of the time, he just shows me something, and I'm like, "That's awesome. Let's just leave it how it is." But every once in a while, I'll be like, "Hey, it'd be cool if we did this too." But I guess when I do contribute to like the artwork and stuff, like I think we're really just trying to go off of like chaos and just like, so you got all the scribbles and just like this thing, like just like you got the sad face, but then there's also like the mad face. And I don't know if we've done stuff with the mad face. That's on the long sleeve shirt. So it's just like just trying to be like really loose and like raw and just like not refined, unrefined. Is that a word? Unrefined?
Yeah.
Unrefined.
So Max comes up with most of the art.
Yeah, Max comes up with most of it, definitely.
Much like the music, your live shows are quite energetic and chaotic, even walking the line of illegal a time or two. So the conscious decision, or does it just happen naturally?
There's a handful of moves that I like to do, and like, there's a handful of things that I just sort of will like to pull out specifically. Like, okay, I know I can do this one move during this one part, and like sometimes it's dependent on what the song will allow me to do. Like if I there might not be a pause in a song, so I can't like throw my bass to a crowd member and then go like do a spin or something, or if you know, if something's like it's super like crazy, there might be like some type of the one move that I always try to include is a handstand or a hand plant, if you will.
Or fucking up Justin's shoulder.
Oh, that was an accident. I didn't. Yeah, see, there's sometimes when Justin and I will maybe like every now and then. It's very much like a wrestling. Like I take like the cues from like the wrestlers that I've like watched, like WWE and WWF, the original Attitude Era. So like, you know, if I'm feeling a move and I'm thinking this might be a good time for it, I might either A, just go for it and end up dislocating Justin's shoulder, or I might like give him a tap or like shove him or like or he might shove me or grab like, you know, do something. But a lot of the times it's in the moment. 95% of the time it's in the moment, I would say. There's a couple of things that I know I'll try and execute or try and get down, but yeah, nothing is set in stone. I like to try and keep it fresh and keep every show different. I know Justin is hands down the wildest performer I've ever gotten to share the stage with. So he's always fun to. He's always keeping us challenged, and I guess we're always finding ways to sort of up each other's ante, and he keeps us invigorated. I think we keep each other invigorated.
Really.
Well, the illegal stuff was like an impulsive, conscious decision. But the other stuff is all like, we just do like whatever. So we'll be, I don't know, sometimes Cooper's there and I'll just strangle him. And sometimes he does a flip over me and pops my shoulder out, and it's awful. But we don't really plan things. It just happens.
It just happens naturally. It's like, I mean, some things we'll think about, like, oh, we'll try that or whatever, but usually it's just like kind of improvised on the spot. Whatever we're feeling energy-wise. So. But
just like from what I've personally seen, like while on tour and going to shows, is that everyone's kind of doing the same thing, but at the same time, like everything's already been done. So it's like you could be like, yo, I'm gonna hang from the rafters, but like 100 people already did that. You could be like, oh, I'm gonna like wear a dress, get naked, but it's like G.G. Allen already did that. You know, you could go as hardcore as you want. I guarantee somebody already did it somewhere. So it's like, for me, I'm trying to find this medium of what I can do, like to push the boundaries, but without being overly shock value where people are like,
You gotta start hurting other people.
no, there's that guy that threw a guitar case at somebody, and I don't know. So I'm really just trying to find a way to like, I guess, bridge the gap between like theater performance and like being in a band. So it's like, because it seems like all the bands are like, we're going to go up and we're going to play our 5 songs and it's going to be sick. But I'm like, I want it to be a continuous thing from like A to Z, where it's like, you're not just clapping after every song because it's like, whoa, they did a song. It's like, no, this whole thing is a set. We're all in character. You're coming to a show.
There's kind of both. I think like we all go into it wanting to be as like crazy as we can and put on a crazy show, be energetic. But then sometimes in the moment,
Shut the fuck up. I'm sorry.
sometimes in the moment it gets pushed like to the extreme, and yeah, sometimes things go overboard. But generally we go into shows just wanting to like be as crazy and hype as possible.
Wow, that segued like perfectly. So I used to do a lot of shock value stuff. Like I would climb on shit and wear like dresses and like, well, I think there was a couple shows I dressed up as like a full like French maid. One time I dressed up as Otto Rocket and came out on a skateboard, and I was like, "What's up?" And I used to do like a pogo stick thing, but I gave it to a fan. And I'm like, "Hey man, you want this pogo stick?" I actually gave most of the costume from the Otto Rocket thing to fans as well. I think it was in Battle Creek, Michigan, at the Music Factory. Like I just started taking off my clothes and was like, "Here, have this wig, have this pogo stick." But the reason I stopped doing all that stuff was because it's weird to say it, but like I realized how much of an impact I have as the front man. Like I've never been like a front man. Even my oldest band, I was like the guitarist and the singer. So this was like weird for me that I'm like, whoa, there's all this attention like on me. So if I do this or say this, it directly like impacts how people perceive our image as a band. So like, obviously like I'm still gonna like cross dress because that's just what I do. but I toned it down in a way that, like, because I'm like, all right, we're like nucore, so we're playing for new metal people, but we're also playing for hardcore people, and hardcore people don't, from my experience, they don't like receive that sort of thing well. So if I'm in like a skirt on stage, like, they get turned off before they even hear us, or they'll be like, yeah, like, I like the music, but I wish the singer wasn't such a faggot. And I'm like, I'm sorry. So I kind of came up with this new style where it was like I can kind of still cross dress, but also like I got camo pants on and like fake blood on my shirt, and it looks cool, but then I'm also wearing like a crop top. So it's like, because it's like I don't want to change myself for the sake of the fans, but I also don't want people to not give us a chance just because of me. So I actually took a bunch of stuff off of my Instagram where it was just like pictures of my ass because I was like,
he's got a fat ass.
it's not that big.
I'll show you some pictures.
But I was like, people are going to come to this and see this and then not like the band. So it's like, I'm like, how can I still be me, but like dial me down from like 10 to maybe like 6 or 7. So it's like, because from my whole youth, even to like my adulthood, I'm like, people kind of need to take me in small doses. So it's like, how can I give them like a taste of this so that they can like the music and like me, but then like once we're like, you know, way more popular, I can go like amp it back up to 12 because they'll be like, oh yeah, that's just, he does that all the time, it's fine. Like I feel like in the beginning I kind of scared a lot of people, potential fans, away. So I kind of got more into theatrics and like dress, like the costumes and like big movements instead of just like climbing on shit and doing shock value and like, you know, crazy costumes, because it was just a way for me to like put myself out there as the front man of this band in a way where I could still be weird and be different, but also get them to give us a shot and like us and not be totally turned off because of me.
The costumes also help sell the concept out.
Yes, the costume. I mean, that's not a question, but I'm gonna.
Go ahead.
The costume was cool because I've only wore it at 2 shows so far, but I think I want to wear it for the whole album cycle. But it's like I took all of the music videos we did for the EP and just combined them into one costume, and then add a little bit of Justin spin on it because I got a cross dress. The biggest difference is that I'm here. So we're recording it right now. The EP I hadn't joined yet, so they recorded all that without me, and then I showed up and added my vocals at home. So this is the first time I've been in like a real studio, and I get to have like some input on things and see how stuff's like recorded and get to talk to the producer, and it's just like way more fun and involved. And I guess it's just cool to be here like with the guys. And like another thing is, since I wasn't in the band before but I'm in the band now, like we all vibe differently, and I'm pretty sure that affects the music. So like the new songs are all like, I'm not gonna say they're more like complete, but you can tell like there's a little bit of like Justinisms in it now, whereas before I was like just the vocal guy.
So you contributed more musically to this one?
Yeah, a little bit. Like I'd say Max does most of the music stuff, but like there were a few things where I'm like, oh, you should do this, or like, yo, try this, and he was like, yeah, that's cool. So I feel like I contributed. I got to be that guy that eats chips on the couch and is like, hey, speed that one up a little bit.
That's nice because we're on the same page about most things. It's just like when we brought the demos in that I had like done in my basement playing shit, like he was like, there's not too much we need to change because it's already pretty much there. Like he understands the sound we're going for and the direction we're going in, and he's like all about it, and he gets us, and it's just like we're usually on the same page. Like when I got here I was just like, I want my snare drum to be tight as shit. And like usually producers are like, no, that sounds like garbage, don't do that. But he's just like, no, he's always telling me that like all the bands that he brings in here is like he wants them to tune the snare up and shit. So I think he's got the same mindset as us, and it was a really good fit once we met up.
Producer. Having a producer that enjoys working with us. We love working with him, and he knows exactly what we're going for. So Josh is pretty sick.
So, this is much less, not so rushed. We only had like 4 or 5 days in the studio last time. This time we have like a couple weeks, which is amazing. The songs that we're writing this time are still pretty like crazy and like out there and weird, and there's some vocal stuff that's like gonna be kind of weird and fun to sort of listen to, and very much in the same vein of like what we, you know, it's a very like, if you dig the EP, I think this will be right up your alley.
All I will say about the new album is that the songs we are recording right now freaking slam. And if you liked the EP, you're probably gonna like this because it's almost like an extension. Like, that concept carries over to this, and it's gonna be really cool.
We have a lot more of an idea of what we're doing with this stuff than the other one. Like I was saying, we didn't even have a vocalist. Like, we didn't have Justin at the time when we did the EP, and it's just like, those were just like, I wrote a couple songs in my basement, threw it together, and we went and tracked it, and then tried finding a vocalist after that. And it's like, this one, we know exactly what we want to do in terms of like the full song, like with vocals and everything. We're all here together for a set amount of time, and things feel less rushed, and we can like actually perfect what we're doing. So it's a lot easier than when we did the EP.
Josh? Yeah. So far, amazing. Like, one of the best experiences, for sure. His ideas are great. He loves to experiment with different things, like different sounds, different weird instruments. I love it.
My tones on this record are much more, in my vision, prominent, and they're better. I really like it. I think Josh has been a fantastic engineer, a wonderful producer. He's done so many like insightful movements, basically just for everything that we want to happen for these songs. And he really gets us. He really gets what we want to do. He's been amazing at just sort of honing in on his skill and just his intuition for what he knows to be a good sound and what he knows to fit and what doesn't fit. We have a producer that gets us, and it's really, really comforting to feel that in the studio. When like I said, we're coming up with something new, or when we have songs that, aren't, we haven't really gotten to show them out to people. And so not a lot of people, we haven't got a lot of feedback on these songs, basically, is what I mean. So for him to like be able to help us write and create these songs and put a new edge on them and have new ears to give us little nuances and new things to make them, different and pop out is really, really awesome for us to have.
And the last one.
Dude, that new song you guys are working on sounds a little bit like Cold Chamber.
Oh, yeah, really? Well, Josh, he actually was bringing up Cold Chamber when we were starting it, yeah. Just like talking about like snare tones and stuff. He's like, you should check out the snare tone. I haven't listened to them too much.
There's a little bit of a different thought process. It's similar, because I learned theory over the years and stuff, so when I write a solo, I try to outline the chords that we're playing against. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, just like different arpeggios and different scales like on the neck that would sound cool, different notes and things like that.
No, I had 100% confidence in him. Like, I specifically, I could have asked, before I ran into Justin, I could have asked anyone to just do screams on it, but I felt that was just kind of boring. Anyone could have been doing that, so I wanted to find a vocalist that could do a million different things and like be unique and add an extra layer to our band that wasn't already there. So I spent that's probably why it took us so long to find like an actual lineup, because the different things we were testing out just weren't working, and I just wanted something different. And he seemed like the best guy for that. After seeing all his solo project stuff and like hearing what he can do, I was just like, this is the guy that we need for this.
I would say I just try and just make sure the song has what it needs to like make sense. I don't try it because I am primarily a funk player, or like I like funk a lot, so it's where my influence tends to draw from. But when it goes to new metal and stuff like that, and hardcore specifically, I try and really understand that this, I don't play the bass as like a lead instrument as I will in some of my other bands. So I just try and think like, what can this song, what does it need? What can I add to it that's not overdoing it while still servicing the song? And what can I do, that's still, representing who I am and what I can do as a player? Because, it's not that I want to show off, but I do want to play the best type of, riff or lick or whatever it is I want to put over a song. There'll be times when, this whole studio thing is probably like me and Max will come up. There's a riff in like right after one of the verses, and we were writing. Basically, we wrote it. The part is written like already, but for me to make it interesting, or not to make it more interesting, I would say, or to make it even pop out, or just make my part even just more defined for myself. We wrote a little bit and worked that part and made it different from me. So I'm not playing exactly the same thing as the guitarist, but my riff over what the guitar's playing is like it adds something else to it, and everyone was really happy with it. So it's a nice sort of collaborative effort whenever we get to write and do stuff together.
Yeah, for sure. It's just hard finding that many people that are gonna mesh with the other four of us. It's kind of hard narrowing down band members until we like completely test them out like on tours and stuff. So it's like, yeah, ideally it's just like that similar lineup that we had right when the EP came out, or right when we started playing shows. We had 3 guitarists, bass, vocals, and drums. I think ideally it'd be like 2 guitars, bass, vocals, and then someone that can pick up a guitar where we have 3 guitar parts, because the EP has a bunch of 3 layers of different guitar things going on. So it'd be nice to have someone that can do that, but that can also do samples and turntables or something. So that's kind of our goal, but there's no it's not set in stone, just because it's hard finding the right people, because they can be perfect for the job, but then once you're like with them hanging out, they're not at all a good fit.
Well, yeah, Max had a bit of notoriety already with his first band, and then Justin had, his 2 YouTube channels that had a crazy huge following, which is like wonderful. Like we didn't I didn't think I would see half the people we've seen at shows, because we've had people come out who are familiar with Justin. We played shows with people who have like said, I learned to scream because of the guy who's playing tonight, like. Because Justin has a scream tutorial on YouTube. And it's got a lot of views, and a lot of people have learned from it, and a lot of people do their technique from it. So, like, first of all, that's, like, really, in my opinion, really humbling to even have the vocalist that has that. Like, because that's really fucking cool.
Has there been any moment in this band that differs from others to where you're like, that's it, we're finally doing something right?
There's been a lot of that. It's hard to tell. Like from the very beginning, once we start playing like our first couple shows, I felt really good, because that was like what I wanted to be doing but I was in like a prog band, which is like completely different. So I was just kind of like really relieved once we started playing shows. I was just like, this is finally what I want to do. And but yeah, well, when we played in the UK, when we played Boomtown, that was really cool, because that was like the first time we had played out of the US in a different country, and it was like a festival. So both of those combined, and it was just like our first real thing, and like on a record label, that felt like we were doing something right there.
There's goals. I have goals personally, and I'm sure everybody in the band does as well. So it all, we want to see how far we can get this and
Take it.
Let's take it to the top. Let's get it all. Let's do everything we can. Let's get everything. Why stop at the sky, Let's go play a show on the Mars. Fuck it, we'll be the first band to play Mars. I'm just saying, man. Why, no limits. Why not?
That wasn't even part of the question, was it? I'm so bad at this.